Alright people, welcome back to the new Sentinel. Today we're unpacking the Minicoat incident, something that's been all over the news and honestly, sort of painful to break down for a lot of folks. So, timeline. It's late evening, bit after 8. Officers rolling into a neighborhood on a domestic disturbance call. They're on edge, right? You see in the footage. Both approach the door, hand on holster, and the woman, let's call her Ms. Ayo to protect privacy, opens up. There's a lot in those 6 seconds. She's got a minicoat on, something clutched. Still unclear if anything was in her hand or just reflex. Suddenly, right there, the officer fires. One shot. Everything goes sideways. Quick, split second. Major, you know these body cam SOPs backwards and forwards. How's it look to you?
Yeah, Chikwuka, I've watched that. Well, way too many times. Look, protocol is always approach with caution, but leave the door open for de-escalation. The body cam's angled down. You see one officer tries verbal commands, but it's muddled. They don't form a proper stack, which is, frankly, lesson 1 in these call-outs. But you can see when the woman moves fast or gestures, the response is immediate. That's what training hammers in. Perceived threat, you act or you don't go home. That doesn't mean it was right. Just the world of policing when adrenaline spikes, you know?
Exactly, man. Real quick, this brings me back. Army days in Mosul. We hit a house looking for a suspected insurgent. Kid pops out behind a curtain with a toy rifle. And boom, everything froze. Nearly went sideways because one guy misread the cues. No one died that day, but it reminded us, mistakes don't forgive outcomes. That's not a police-military comparison, but it's these lapses in the heat of it. Sometimes protocol ain't enough.
And this is the point. When protocols are not enough, who pays the price? The woman, in this case Miss Ayo, she had no prior violent history according to neighbors and what's now in the public record. Listen to those witness accounts. Her voice, frightened, apologetic, not aggressive. There's a pattern repeating. People of color, mental distress, escalation instead of help. We can't avoid raising the context of power here. Remember Breonna Taylor? It's public distrust built on a record of high-profile tragedies. The system is not just failing in moment, it's failing in the pattern.
Let's take a hard look at it from a technical angle. Use of force continuum. Basic rules of engagement. You escalate only when there's clear threat. Lethal force is last resort. I saw the official internal memos. They said officers followed reasonable suspicion of imminent harm. But leaked stuff? Paints a sloppier picture. Some steps skipped or glossed over in their statements after. Truth be told, sounds like they went hot before confirming the threat. That ain't standard, and it sure ain't what we drilled into our guys overseas.
And the officer's record? Independent analysis finds a long list of disciplinary complaints, procedural shortcuts, excessive force, nothing ever really stuck. If there's no intent, why this pattern? The family's saying it outright. If a civilian with a record shot someone out of fear, there'd be no leniency, just charges. So, is it about intent, or is it just about the badge? These are not rhetorical for me. It's about our collective responsibility and the difference between what's legal and what's just.
Yeah, but here's where I struggle. Intent is tricky business. You got the forensics, ballistics lineup. Looks like a single, center mass shot. That's not wild panic. That's practiced, almost. But you watch the replay. Officer's body language screams tension. Shaky aim, but eyes wide, jittery. There's a recent Dallas case. Same scenario. Officer claimed shadow in hand. Turned out to be a phone, but the difference was trigger discipline. His finger stayed off the trigger till he was sure. Didn't pull. That's what I keep coming back to. How do we tell intent from reflex? Or is it all just tragic error masked by training?
I gotta say, both of you raise good points. As someone who's taught use of force, you see the difference between a tactical mistake and a malicious act. Ballistics, angle of entry, timing on the body cam, it all points to a split decision. I'm not excusing it, but you can't always spell out intent in black and white. The report says finger on the trigger before visual confirmation, which violates policy. But I'm going to be honest, context matters, officer experience matters, but so does accountability. And right now, the lines are pretty dang blurred.
After all that, the aftermath, city square full of protesters, local media blowing up, and internal affairs scrambling to catch up. I spent the last few days talking with families and local activists. Their biggest message? Oversight is a joke. Real reform never arrives. Activists showed me open letters to state officials, calling for transparency, more civilian review, and yes, psychological screening for officers. The hope is that this incident, like so many before, will finally tip the scales for accountability, though I've heard that promise too many times before.
Look, I get the rage out there, but let's not forget, when you're the boot on the ground, you don't get a pause button. Every rookie's told, hesitate, and you might not make it home. Public outrage is real, but so is the cops' fear. You got police unions out here defending standard procedures, hammering about officer safety first. Same lines I used to hear downrange. But if leadership don't step up and own mistakes, then trust is gone. Full stop. That's where departments shoot themselves in the foot every time.
This brings up a bigger policy question. We've seen decades of reform, body cams, de-escalation drills, changes to force policies, but have they really stuck? I'd ask, should training change, or do we need new tech, new tools? Compare this to the Rodney King legacy. Back then, everybody said things would change. Sometimes looks more like window dressing than real reform. Are we chasing accountability or just patching old scars? I think listeners have to decide if policing can really shift in a country this divided, or if these flashpoints keep echoing every 5-10 years. Nothing but deja vu.
That's the real kicker. Can we fix the trust, or is it just scratching at wounds that never heal? Folks, we'll keep digging into these questions, looking at the roots, not just the headlines. But for today, that's it from the new Sentinel crew. Olga, Ethan, Duke, always a trip. Any last words before we sign off?
Just that voices on the ground matter. Let's keep them at the center. Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate y'all. Keep an eye on policy, not just protest.
Watch your six out there. More to come, folks.
Stay sharp and we'll see you next time. Good night, everyone.